You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And this is our finale episode.
Woo!
Yay!
We made it again.
We did it! I know, it's only the second time. Some of our listeners sent questions, which was really nice, but they were like, you did it! You went all the way through! And it's like, yep, that happened. So our plan for the day is that I'm just going to do a little light summary of everything that happened so that it's all fresh in our minds while we discuss the anime. Then we're going to do a little bit of discussion.
Discussing.
We're going to do a little discussing. I went back to my roots, you know. And I guess our discussion, spoiler alert for all of this, because some of the questions also specifically asked about how we felt about the way things were adapted from the manga. So all of this episode may have like manga spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you want to read it for yourself, then stop listening. But otherwise, we're going to have our own discussion, and then we'll get to listener questions pretty quickly because there's a good amount, and I want to answer all of them. So in summary, here's my summary. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
I wrote a separate summary for this. This is the second time. You'd think that after all this time, I'd be good at it. Let's find out. So in season 1 of the anime, we met Toru Honda and the cursed Soma family. Toru met many members of the Soma family, and seeming wise beyond her years in some ways, gave them advice, showed them another perspective, or showed them just plain kindness, and that helped them with their challenges. Particularly Yuki and Kyo, whose true form was revealed to Toru toward the end of season 1. In season 2, we went to the beach. Beach. That's all that happened. Just kidding. Anyway, in season 3, no. The series took a darker turn as we learned more about Yuki and Rin's childhoods and Akito's escalating abuse. Kyo acknowledged his feelings for Toru and decided to enjoy his time with her until his confinement. Yuki took on the challenge of joining the student council and ended up making a few new friends. And Toru struggled more with the loss of her mother. And Toru also learned about Akito's role as the god of the zodiac. And Kureno revealed to Toru that Akito is a woman and that the curse can break. In season 3, Yuki learned more about Machi's relationship with her family, and they got closer. Toru's feelings for Kyo intensified, and she admitted that she wanted to break the curse most so that she can be with him. She tried to confess her feelings to him, but he ran away in his disillusionment. Akito's relationship with her parents was explored. Akito took even greater measures to try to control the Junichi, including imprisoning Rin in the cat's room. Momiji's curse broke, causing Akito to spiral into even deeper anxiety about the bond with the Junichi. With her control over the zodiac slipping, Akito's frustration and fear boiled over, causing her to stab Kureno and attack Toru. The confrontation took them to the edge of a cliff on Shigeru's property, where the land collapsed and Toru was seriously injured. In a heartfelt reunion, Kyo stopped being a dumbass and reconnected with Toru. Akito was able to finally let go of the bond and break the curse, and Yuki, the last to be let go, was finally able to tell Machi how he felt about her. And then they all graduated, and that was it. The end.
Very nice.
I hit the major points. And I tried to hit on the kind of like the key things that happen with our main 3, I think. Overall in the story, although there are many characters, and we talked many times about how there's so many characters and how there's a lot of kind of like secondary and tertiary characters.
Yeah.
So in terms of our discussion, I just wanted to find out what you thought about the series, the anime. So we're talking about the anime adaptation specifically. So what do you think about the series overall? Were there parts that you liked and disliked? Anything that particularly stood out?
Yeah, I liked it a lot overall. It was I think it was really like well done, just like on a on just a basic technical level. Like it was nicely animated, nicely voice acted, and pretty to look at and everything. I think it did a pretty good job as an adaptation. They obviously had to cut some things and change some things around, but I think it worked pretty well for being an anime rather than a manga. And I really just enjoyed seeing so many of the characters and parts that didn't get into the first anime so many years ago finally get animated.
Yes. I agree with all of that. I definitely didn't think about this question before I asked you. So, but you reminded me, we had the Fruits Basket anime from before, and I think we probably talked at the very beginning of this kind of like sub-series, and when we talked, maybe even the beginning of when we started talking about the manga, about how different the manga and the original anime were in their, anime were in their tone, and like how some of the characters were represented, and how I've always had beef with Shigure. I mean, but I think overall I agree with you that I really enjoyed this adaptation, and I think like maybe it's just that animation quality and stuff has improved, or it's easier to make anime in general or whatever, but it's a much nicer overall adaptation, I think, than the original anime, at least definitely in terms of like quality. And I just feel like it kind of got like the full treatment that it deserved. The story of Fruits Basket got the final like adaptation that it really deserved all this time. I would say.
Yeah, I think it was clear, even if you like don't like all the changes, I think it's clear that the series was made with like love and respect for the original manga. Like, I don't think any of the choices they made were made carelessly. I think they, thought it out to try and make a good series and good adaptation.
Like, there's definitely things that are like not my favorite parts of the story that, or like other things that I wished that were given more focus or whatever. But I think it's clear that the team had an intent in what they were trying to do, wasn't like careless or whatever.
Yeah.
Or taking something that was like a tone that's completely different, like in the first one, for example.
Yeah. Not that you can like fully blame the like first anime creators, because like it was just the series wasn't complete, and the tone at the beginning of the series is a lot different from the tone at the end. So
yeah, you can't go as dark. Like the parts that were dark were still dark, like like the stuff with Hitori and whatever at the beginning and the end. But like I think like overall the tone is more comedic than dramatic.
Yeah. It was a romance comedy.
Right. And I'd say overall the tone of Fruits Basket is really more of like a drama with funny moments. So
yeah, I think at the start it does seem more of a like
it's gonna be cute,
lighthearted romance with some dramatic moments rather than more of a drama with like comedic moments. So
it's a wacky, fun, romantic comedy, and they turn into animals and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're not. It's not that it isn't. It's just also some other stuff.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you particularly liked from this version of the adaptation? Like any favorite scenes or favorite parts?
I don't know. Most just like, I'm so happy to see it animated. I like all these parts. Like, I really enjoyed the student council, like both just because it's their first time animated, but also I think they really shine in like animation, being able to just like see their movements and hear all their kooky lines and everything, and all their shouting.
Yeah, not just me, one person saying all of it, because like it's easy. It's better when it's multiple people and like they can talk over each other and like interrupt each other. Like it's more natural and stuff than in our like summaries. So.
And even like the more serious parts of that, like the earlier arguments between like Yuki and Kakeru, I think work better when you can hear them and everything.
Yeah, I was happy about Sword of Cinderella personally. Enjoyed that. For the same reason, because there's a lot of them like saying the wrong lines and talking over each other and stuff that are where the actual like plot elements happen in that part. So,
are you saying it's better than our radio play?
Nothing's better than our radio play. We sang extra songs at the end. Where's our extra outtakes from the cast? It must have been really difficult for them to record all of this in absence of other people for the most part, because I think a lot of it was done during quarantine. So I don't know what they would have done in Japan, but I think they were recording a lot of the Funimation, like the dub was recorded a lot remotely. So at least as far as I know.
I think in Japan they tend to do that kind of voice acting separately anyway, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, I don't know.
A lot of times we do that for Western animation too, but sometimes we'll put people in the same room if they have like a good like rapport with each other. But it's probably just in general harder to do it remotely than like in a studio with the director like being able to give you immediate feedback and everything.
I really liked the dub overall, actually, too. That's one thing that I appreciated a lot. We had the return. This was round 2. Like, how often does that happen where you get to have, like, the same people come back, same cast come back for, like, something that's redone,
Yeah, I feel that's something that, like, I don't know, we seem to value that more in, like Western reboots and stuff, like getting cast members back. Even if it's for, like, cameos rather than the same role or something. Like, in general, not just in, like, the narrow world of anime reboots, but, like...
Yeah.
Like whenever they like reboot, I don't know, like Indiana Jones or something, it's like, oh, we have to have the old cast, even if it's just a cameo for where they play,
like Star Wars.
Or like, where it's like, oh, it's like they played this character in the original, and now they're playing that character's father in the reboot or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But But I really enjoy that, like, especially with this, with something that like we watched as like children, basically,
Yeah.
just to hear those same voice actors like again playing the same roles, and it's like they've had years to hone their craft, as it were. So because a lot of them were like still pretty early on in their careers when Fruits Basket came out, because like that was fairly early, and
20 years ago at
yeah,
this point. So yeah, it must have
it
been.
was fairly early on in like anime dubbing becoming like a big thing in the US. But yeah, really excellent dub, I think. I've said it before, I was really impressed with Akito's voice actress, because the early seasons had to like convincingly be like, could be like convincingly be like a male character, and but still sound like it not being like totally out of left field with the reveal and everything.
Yeah, true. I wonder if people forget, or like, I wonder if there's a like controversy around like Momiji's character having an accent and stuff like that. But I liked that change too. I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, that was another like impressive kind of like change with the like older Momiji voice acting.
Right. Yeah.
The Japanese was obviously good, but I can't comment on that as thoroughly, not natively speaking the language. So
True. Also,
I feel like it's easier to like, I mean, you hear like what seems weird easier in like your own language. Like,
Yeah, my impression is like it's good, but then there are times when I would like watch, like I remember watching for some of the things from season 3 in both Japanese and English, and I'd be like, wow, it's so emotional in the Japanese one, and then listen to it in English, and I'd be like, why am I crying already? And it's like, and I guess maybe it's just because it's like easier to understand, so it's like you don't have to think about it at the same time. Like I'm not like reading the subtitle.
yeah,
So
yeah, there's
maybe
not like
that's
another part of your brain engaged in doing some other activity at the same time, like,
yeah,
whether it's translating or reading or.
yeah, true. My impression also is the same. That's like it's good. I can't say like how great or good. I mean, I enjoyed all of their acting, and they seem fine. I don't think any of the original cast was brought back,
Yeah, I
as
don't
far
think
as I
so.
remember from when we were looking. Because I remember finding all their names and stuff before, but I feel like they had similar like vibes in their voices. You know what I mean? Like they picked kind of
Yeah.
similar sounding people for those characters, but not like the same people.
Yeah. One thing I remember finding like Yuki's dub voice really odd and off in the original anime, and it really fits. And I think it's both nowadays, and I think that's both because the voice actor has improved and because like Yuki's character has more like depth and nuance to it than he had in the original anime, where like I think the voice acting fits better. But it's just one of those ones where it's like I remember that one being like a real like not sour note, but one where I was just like that just doesn't quite feel right.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. This is Eric Vale, who played Yuki.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think it's partially like his ability to like express things has improved, like his skill has improved for sure. But yeah, it never really seemed like the right voice in the original anime for whatever reason. Like it just made him weirder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like more like it's not weird isn't the right word. Just kind of like distanced, like disconnected socially, which kind of makes sense in the overall context of the story. But it was kind of weird. He had a more like disconnected, almost ethereal quality, especially the way they animated it too. Like I'm just thinking about the scene where he like says that Toru has a fever or whatever in the second episode or whatever, whenever it is. Must be the first one. It's the first one because before she lives with them. Where it's like, why is he so creepy? You know, and like his voice also like acted that way.
Yeah.
But I appreciated his sass so much at the end, like in season 3, where he's like that fucking idiot.
Yeah, I'm like I'm like it's like this is the voice of a Yuki that was meant to be an asshole. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, like I think it really plays into like Yuki's like dry humor and his like moments of anger and stuff that you get in this anime that you didn't get in the original.
Even like the scene where they're fighting at the end, Kyo and Yuki are fighting at the end, and like toward the end of season 3, you know, his quote unquote pep talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And Yuki's like super frustrated in that scene. He's like crying. And I felt like Eric Vale's like acting of that scene was really good. In particular, out of all the scenes that Yuki had.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have time to watch both the sub and dub on several of the last episodes of the season because work was crazy. But
Same dog.
but I made sure to watch that one because I wanted to hear their argument in English. So
I wanted to hear their argument. I also wanted to hear all the Kyotoru scenes, like Laura Bailey and Jerry Jewell crush the whole. I feel like the whole series, but the end in particular. I was like, this is so good.
They're both very good, and they're kind of in, like, I admire them in different ways. It's like Jerry Jewell is always Jerry Jewell. Like you will never not know it's Jerry Jewell in an anime project. But he's always really good. But like Laura Bailey is a like freaking chameleon.
Yeah, I know.
Like she disappears into like a bunch of different roles.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Jerry Jewell will not be Jerry Jewell. In my mind, Jerry Jewell is Kyo. In my head, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always been a really good voice for Kyo. Like
true. His original acting of Kyo was also really good. I mean, I think like his skill has also just gotten better. And I feel like there's probably a lot of people who couldn't do what Laura Bailey does with Toru. So
yeah.
I think her voice acting skills also improved, but I do feel like they're kind of like that's like OG good acting.
Yeah,
you know?
I think. Yeah, it's like I think like there's like the original anime was definitely a rougher project as far as the dubbing went, but like their voices have always been really good for those characters.
I did also like Shigure's voice for Shigure back in the day, even when he was like more funny, and I was impressed by his like really bitchy voice or like really angry, like when he's talking to Kureno on the phone and like being mad at Akito. It's like, this is the best. Like
yeah, the conversation with Kureno on the phone really impressed me in the dub because like the lines themselves would be really easy to sound stupid in like in English, like oh, I do hate you, I hate you very much. Like that's like it sounds really silly if you're just like reading it and it didn't have like the proper skill behind it. But it was like when I heard the dub, I was just like, oh, ouch. Like
you can tell whatever like memory that he's pulling to conjure that feeling of seething rage, whatever it is like it's the right one to be using. Whatever it is that he's thinking about or whatever to feel that feeling is perfect. Yeah, and like he has kind of I don't remember what Shigure's voice actor's name is, but he has this kind of like, when he acts Shigure, at least he has this kind of like goofy quality that he throws into his voice, so it could be really easy to make it sound dumb. But maybe goofy's not the right word, but he just has this kind of like interesting like
there's like a
jovial quality to his voice most of the time. So jovial is the nice way of saying goofy. I mean,
yeah. It's like it becomes obvious that that's kind of an act that Shigure is putting on, and so it kind of works. Like,
I think he does really truly enjoy teasing Kyo.
Yeah. John Bergmeyer.
Right, that's his name.
Oh, he's Dolcetto in Fullmetal Alchemist. I feel like we already discovered this.
Oh yeah, because we did, because then we were like, he's a dog.
Yeah.
Why? I don't remember why we were talking about it though. Maybe complimenting him previously in that Korean
Probably.
episode.
It's probably like this exact same conversation.
Like, who is that guy? Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. This content is all the same.
Yeah.
Turns out our impressions don't change that much. Was there anything that you particularly didn't like?
I don't think there's anything I really like disliked. Like, there's a couple things I'm like disappointed they couldn't keep, but like I'm not like devastated that they didn't like keep them in there either. It's like, and there's no like changes where I'm like, man, I hate that. Like there's ones where I'm like, that's fine. Like
yeah. I have things that I would trade, I would say.
Yeah.
Like I would trade some of the things that were cut from like the student council with like all of like Motoko and Nao's little story. Like it's fine, but you could have had like Komaki.
Kimi's basket.
Or, yeah, you could have had Kimi's basket, for example. Our jokes never get old, right?
Not to us, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have anything in particular that I was super disappointed about. I would say.
I think the thing I was most disappointed to lose was some of the nuance about like the the characters and their like sort of self-awareness of their attitude toward the cat toward the end.
Yeah.
Like the
We
bit
talked about
where
that.
like the whole like Momiji's conversation about like not giving up on the cat, which got kind of like mushed into his like curse breaking conversation, and kind of lost that bit, just because that's an aspect I've always liked about sort of like I don't know, like end days of the curse, like characters, like
Didn't they cut that whole conversation? Wasn't Hero
yeah.
didn't say anything about it either, right?
Yeah, they had like
Yeah.
the whole scene, but they didn't. They kind of cut that conversation and like mushed in some of like Momiji's other stuff from a little later on into the conversation with Kyo.
Yeah. All his crush and whatnot.
They had the bit where it seemed like they were going to lead into it. Like they had the bit where like they're talking
And
about
he was like, I'm not giving up on myself. And you were like, what?
yeah. Well, it's like they had
Or
that bit,
whatever
but
it
they
was.
also had like Kisa commenting that
Oh, yeah.
like oh, and Kyo's always really nice to Toru, and then Hiro kind of making a face and being like, yeah, I guess like
It's like, and then you're like waiting for him to say the line, and then he does it. It's
yeah.
like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, true.
But again, I'm not like devastated that that isn't there. It's just
You're not heartbroken?
like that.
Completely
Yeah, it's like that would have been. Yeah, it's like it's an aspect I like and would have liked to see, but it still works without it. So
Yeah. I think their attitude toward Kyo is obvious in other things, but it's not explicit. Like if they had that.
yeah, but then they did add the little bit that I do like with like Shigure's like speech about how like they all like need the cat to be like worse off than them, and they had Rin in that scene like kind of looking guilty.
Yeah, actually changing the location of that scene was good. I liked that aspect of the adaptation where they kind of they're together. They're all three of them are together for the whole scene. That whole for both parts instead of in the so what we're talking about is the scene where Toru goes to visit Shisho and she's talking to Rin and Shigure's talking to Rin outside. And Shigure's like, the curse is gonna break, and then Toru's like, when? I needed to break so I can be with Kyo, and they're like, what? And then what happened in the manga was that she ran away at that point, and then Shigure caught up with her and said all this stuff about the cat and said all this other stuff, but instead they had the whole conversation in the same place, and I think that worked well too. Like you said.
Yeah, there are a couple changes kind of in that line that I think worked really well for the anime, where they'd like take two like parts of kind of the same like thematic element and put them together when they were like done separately. Like I know there were some like separate student council shenanigans that they like put in the same episode when they were like separated by a couple chapters in the manga and things like that, just to kind of I think it worked to like put things together thematically and character wise so there was less like jumping around, which would I think seem weirder in an anime than in the manga.
I think like a notable one is the Yuki and Machi scenes that were so like Yuki and Machi's whole scene at the end and like the second to last episode or whatever before the curse breaks was kind of like two separate. They met two separate times in the manga. Combined them. I think we talked about that before, and it's probably in spoilers or whatever. But and that one worked out fine too.
Yeah, because there's stuff I think like works fine when you're like reading the manga, especially like as it comes out. But even like when you're like reading through the books, that I think would seem like weirder in anime, where it's like with those ones, like oh Yuki and Machi met up together outside of school and had a important conversation and a dramatic confession, and then some other stuff happened. And it's like Yuki and Machi met somewhere outside of school and had an important conversation and dramatic confessions.
Different dramatic confession. Yeah, true. And in that case, they also so like in that part of the manga, I guess like Toru was kind of in the hospital. The amount of time in the series where Toru's in the hospital was like a little bit longer, so there was more time in between. And in that time, we had talked about this also before, but there's all the like they tease KO a lot, and so they eliminated all that completely, which is like it's fine, but it was funny.
Yeah,
and I missed that slightly. But
yeah, I also miss Sayame's backstory.
Oh yeah,
and the Mogeta, the Mogeta and Machi side story that came out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like most of the things I think like they're silly little things that were really enjoyable and charming, but. Like, you don't need them to tell the story. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have any favorite, like, opening or ending themes?
I have to listen to them. None of them really, like, super, super jumped out at me. Like,
did you like the umbrella one?
Yeah, I liked the umbrella one.
Because I remember you said that it was upbeat and you liked that they were upbeat. It was an upbeat opening. Because a lot of them had been kind of slow.
Yeah, I prefer a high energy opening for my anime openings.
I think a lot of them are not high energy.
Yeah, I did like the last ending theme too, with the drawings from Takaya in there. And, yeah,
Yeah, the pink
and
one.
the music was nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it was upbeat.
they're all good. Like
They were all good.
They're all good. They're just like several of them I would skip after a couple episodes. Whereas like there's some in some shows where it's like when the skip opening button pops up, I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah. No, I understand. I really liked the last opening. I also really liked Home. That was the one I remember visually. It's just really interesting because it has like I like the song, but it had this like interesting animation where they like timed it with the music and stuff, where they're like clapping and everything. It has all these weird like lighting effects and stuff, and it had this like interesting sort of like animation on the text where it kind of like chunks of the letters would kind of fade out and stuff and fade in.
Yeah.
I remember you also liked the I think it was One Step Closer, which is the claymation-y one, the one with all the
Oh yeah, that one's cool.
textures and stuff.
It's like
and they
had that
seasons and...
Yeah, that one was cool, and they had that like paper cutout one too, and one of the endings with the like zodiac animals. This one says the Charm Park. Yeah,
Meliora.
I think that might be the artist. It's the Charm Park.
The Charm Park is the artist.
That one had the paper cutout ones.
Oh,
yeah, I like both of those
I remember.
visually.
Yeah, with the shadows and stuff. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that one was cool.
Yeah, both of those I really like visually.
Texture in the background. It's like a nighttime. Yeah, cool. I think we should transition to listener questions, unless you have any other final thoughts. Some of the questions will include our final thoughts. I think that's why I'm suggesting it. And I've given us assignments this time, so we're organized.
Instead of us being like, "Did you read the last one?
Did you read the last one? I forget.
Is it my turn?"
No. Yeah, I've learned from.
It only took us how many listener question episodes?
Well, there was 2 for Furuba. There's been 1 for FMA. We didn't do any questions for any of the other anime breaks. I think this is the only one we've done questions for.
Yeah.
So that makes 3. I already lost count. 4.
This would be the fourth
3 for
one,
Furuba and 1. 3 for Furuba and 1 for FMA. So there you go. And Bowie's here too.
Yeah, to answer questions.
Of course. So all our questions came from Tumblr. So thanks again for sending all our questions. I think I've gotten questions. There's like 1 or 2 new people, but most of the questions came from our old friends. So I'm excited about answering them. And they're also loosely organized into categories as usual. So the first category is just questions about the anime. Rai Bean Kai asks, which anime episode is your favorite? One of my favorites is definitely Sword of Cinderella, which I talked about before. But I enjoyed the one with Sword of Cinderella, at least. I think it's called Cinderella-ish. That's probably the proper name. I have always liked the I'm just looking. So the first season, there's the one where it's New Year's Eve and they leave and then they run back. I mean, that was in the original anime and it's like it follows the same plot and everything, but I always liked that one and it was good in this version of the anime too. In this new adaptation.
I remember liking the one where the student council like first convenes. Like not the one where he just like sees these randos in the classroom and is like, what the fuck? But
no, where they first meet, where they actually meet for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. Just I liked the thematic approach of like Yuki's like insecurity and like all the bits of him like not knowing how to deal with like people like interacting with him in like a friendly and like normal way like that. Like
yeah, it is a good one. The beach house one where Yuki cries on her. I forget which one it is. I'm trying to find out which one it is. Episode 8, season 2, episode 8 or episode 9? Oh, it's episode 9. Wait, no, it must be episode 8 because episode 9 is it's called So Precious, which is probably Kyo. Yeah, this is probably the one with Kyo at the end. Although that one is good too. Season 3, episode 3, which is I Hope It Snows Soon. That's the one with Yuki and Machi. And Kakeru was a good brother.
I don't know if it's like the full episode, but I really liked the anime's interpretation of the Foolish Traveler story with the like the way it was animated and how they had all the monsters being like zodiac animals and stuff. Yeah.
I forgot about that and how cool it was. I liked the style of the animation.
Yeah.
That would have been when they... Oh, it's like after Valentine's
That was like
Day?
the White Day episode.
White Day one.
Yeah.
The White Day episode, because it's a rom-com.
Yeah, because it's,
it's a shoujo rom-com.
Shoujo.
Yeah. It was. Luigi's like, let's all go. I was going to say it's the one where they go to the but I can't remember if it was the same one or if that was two separate episodes.
The
Might have all been
steamy
one.
hot spring adventure or whatever you called it.
Steamy Onsen Heartful Tour. How could you forget? Should get a tattoo that says Steamy Onsen Heartful Tour.
It's called This Is a Wonderful in the anime.
It was, well, I mean, I called it Steamy Onsen Heartful Tour. They translated it to something different, and I was like, well, that makes sense, but it's not okay. I mean, I think it was just like, I call it me and Toru's like lovey-dovey hot spring adventure or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Unacceptable. Steamy Onsen Heartful Tour.
It's also the episode that has Toru failing to play ping pong, so...
Literally, it's the perfect episode. It has something for everyone because Yuki also gives her the ribbons and stuff. So all the shippers were happy.
Yeah, she's like, I missed.
She's like, ha, and then I missed. I like the Momiji just like stares at it rolling on the floor. The whole thing is good. One of my favorite early episodes is when they go to the lake house or whatever, and they're all like, "It's Jason, Jason." Which again wasn't any different than probably the original anime, but still.
Because looking back, it's very obvious why they went with a comedy for the first anime.
It's not a comedy.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what about this episode where this guy gets his face permanently scarred? It's just like a one-off. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I feel like in the original anime, you had Hattori's backstory, Momiji's backstory, and then the ending.
Yeah.
And that was about all that was like really dramatic.
Yeah, and Kyo's transformation.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Like, yeah, the whole
that included the whole.
I guess that was all the same. I forget how the episodes are broken up. It might have been 2 episodes. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think they had like because they had like the. I feel like they probably broke it up in a similar way with it like transforming and then him running away and then it's
like, don't look at me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed seeing Rin's story animated too. That's just because I like Rin, as I've said many times.
Yeah. That was another one that did some cool like visual language. There's a lot of cool like sort of like abstract visuals that they used in the anime or like unusual art styles and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was good.
Mm-hmm.
You're right about that. Some of Kyo's like nightmare dreams had good visuals too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember like the very first episode that came out being taken aback by all the like blood and stuff.
Yeah.
We talked many times about how much like not that Frupa doesn't have some blood, but just the like visceralness of it in the anime.
Mm-hmm. And then like there are a couple scenes where they went like just a little farther than the like manga did, like with like Momiji's mother like stabbing herself in the head with the scissors.
We were like, oh no.
Yeah, we're like,
oh no.
Like there was implications in the manga, but that just happened.
Yeah. We were left wondering, but we definitely weren't left wondering in the anime.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely also one of my favorite episodes of the anime and also parts of the manga is when Toru and Kyo like get back together. When she first of all she runs away, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have like very sweet dialogue in that part. So I always like that. That didn't really answer the question, but those are our favorite moments, I guess.
Yeah.
Our additional favorite moments.
We listed some actual episodes.
Yeah. A full episode. The Jason episode.
Yes.
I didn't even look up the number. You want to do the next question? Per your assignment in my spreadsheet.
Second by, do you want to? I mean, do it.
Yeah, it's your turn. You're up.
Kind of talked about this a little bit already, but old friend Death Smallcaps asks if there was one thing you'd change about the TV series, in parentheses, besides having no Kimmy Basket or Meat Angel, of course, what would it be? It's like, well, that's my answer, so.
Yeah, deal with it. Funimation released a AMV, like they made an AMV for the series, and one of our listeners retweeted it at us and was like, oh, I guess they wanted to do a Kimmy's Basket after all. And I was like, yeah. Or whatever. I should find out what they actually said before I just say things. Guess they decided they needed more episodes for Meat Angel and Kimmy's Basket.
Yeah.
Besides Kimmy's Basket or Meat Angel. I think I said earlier that I would prefer if they brought in like Meat Angel instead of having like the Now and Motoko like subplot, because I think that that's more important to like Kakeru's character growth. Mm-hmm. Like if I had to pick, I was thinking about this morning. If I had to choose one of those two things, I would choose Meat Angel. Kimmy's Basket is irrelevant. I love it, but it's irrelevant.
Yeah. I just thought of something else I wish. that I wish they had included, and it was the Toru Kakeru connection, which would
Yeah,
would include bringing Komaki in. So
Komaki. All of
yeah.
Komaki's story, I think, or like Komaki and Kakeru and Toru, all of them, all of that. I would trade the episode, or like whatever the episode with like Motoko's confession to Yuki and then Nao's confession to Motoko. I would trade all of that for time for Meat Angel. Like, in my opinion. But that's because I don't like Motoko that much. I wonder if there are people out there who really love Motoko. I don't know. But Motoko.
I think you just resent her for making you do the Motoko.
How dare she have the same similar name to somebody else? They're both so bombastic. I had to say their own names so many times in their own dialogue. No, I just resent her. I don't find the French Yuki fan club storyline that interesting in general. Like, it's kind of interesting at the beginning where they're like, oh, he's so like aloof and disconnected, but like you don't need to have a subplot with Motoko. But
yeah, I do think it fits like the series thematically about the whole idea of like
that I agree with.
People being like more than they seem on the like your first impression kind of thing. Which I think is somewhat of a theme of the series, especially at the beginning when they were introduced. So, and
also in her final,
the whole like Yuki's not actually a prince, and like Toru's not as cheerful as she seems on the outside, and all that kind of stuff.
She was soft on the inside. And I think Motoko's confession in the end is also thematically relevant, like where she's like, "I just want you to be happy. Like, thanks for the time that we spent together." You know, like that people can make a positive impression on you, even if they're not like, you know, the ultimate person in your life or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying if I had to trade, that's what I would trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's thematically relevant, but like we also could get those themes from other places. And yeah, I do think the Komaki stuff is interesting for both Kakeru and Toru's storylines. So not totally necessary, like it was fine without it, but
yeah,
they add some depth that I enjoy. So.
And I thought that they had that scene where they hinted at her remembering him or whatever, and then they just kind of like cut it out. But I could be wrong. I forget.
I can't remember if they had the Hana scene, but I think they definitely had like Kakeru being like, with Yuki being like, why are you so interested in her? Like, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't know. They could have just played it off as then it's like he's interested because Yuki.
Yeah, it was Kakeru's
relationship is to her.
Yeah, it was Kakeru still being kind of a snot. So it's easy to just sort of play off as him still being kind of a snot. So
yeah, true.
Messing with Yuki. So
is there other stuff that you would change?
Not really. I mean, we talked a little bit about the like I'm not going to give up on the cat thing. I would have liked to be put in there, but
one other change. Oh wait, no. I was just trying to see if I don't think anybody asked us anything we particularly liked from the adaptation. But one thing that I liked from the adaptation that we didn't talk about yet was Ritsu's scene with Toru changing to Mitsuru. To Michan, and I liked that. So they actually got their like time.
Yeah, I liked
together on screen.
Yeah, adding some more of them together.
And they come back at the end when Shigure decided to quit being a writer, and they were happy. Okay, well, sufficiently answered, I guess.
Probably.
I think we should answer no questions and just talk about what we were going to talk about.
It's like, thank you all for sending in questions. They will be soundly discarded, and
they will be. We're reading them and then choosing to interpret them whatever way we want.
Yeah.
The next question comes from Riot Bean Kai. Did the anime adaptation change your opinion of any of the characters for better or for worse?
Not drastically. I think, like we were kind of talking about, like with the student council, I think there's some characters that definitely benefit from the, like being animated and voiced, like both like dramatically and how am I pronouncing that? Comedically.
You mean comedically? I mean,
yes.
I was just thinking if there's any, because I feel like they're represented in pretty much the same way as the anime. I mean, it's the manga, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like didn't necessarily change my opinion. My opinion about Shigure is still the same, in case anybody's curious. Which is that I think he's shifty. He's sly. But he and Akito seem to be happy with each other, so whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anybody who is like that different.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think there are any real huge differences. I think it's just, yeah, like I think some characters are like more enjoyable. You can see them in action, but like they weren't characters I disliked to begin with. They're just like, I'm like, oh, this is even better. Like,
that's good. I was trying to decide if Akito is. I feel like you'd have to walk a really fine line with Akito. So I think the actress that played her, at least in English for sure, did a good job because Akito could come off as like super whiny or whatever, especially toward the end.
Yeah, I do think.
Like, I don't know, so.
Yeah, like I was. I'm sympathetic to Akito to begin with, but I do think the voice acting definitely did her perspective justice. So I could see that being like a convincing point for people who are more ambivalent on her.
Yeah. I think Ren was just as creepy and crazy. Like the old maid is the same.
She didn't get her shot at redemption that she rejected.
Oh, she did. No. She did. They just moved it like 3 episodes.
Well, she didn't really like offer. Like Akito didn't really like offer it. She's just like, okay, stay here, bye,
bye.
Which is fair. But...
yeah, pretty much. Just like, all right, well, later. Well, the maid had a long. The maid had like quite the. They were like, this like person's like one moment, you know, for like their monologue. And it was like pretty long. I remember.
Yeah,
like, the
they kept. They moved her monologue a little earlier, but they didn't have like Akito being like, "But well, you can change. Why don't you try?" And then her being like, "Nah."
I'm too old. I'm so old. I'll never be able to change. It's like, okay. That's how I felt during her speech. Personally, I was just like, all right. I like her as a kind of like a symbol in the story, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, she's a representative character rather than like an actual character.
Yeah. Well, so that's why she doesn't even have a fucking name. We'll never know what her name is. She represents all the family, all the old traditions and stuff, in my opinion. So I guess in answer to your question, did the anime adaptation change your opinion of any of the characters for better or worse? No, I don't think so. I feel pretty much
not
the same.
strongly.
It sounds like Kayla feels the same.
From Death Small Caps, how does the end of this TV adaptation feel different than the previous one?
I was going to say it's right, and then I was like, no, don't be so cheeky.
Weirdly, I do think they're thematically fairly similar.
I think they kind of nailed it with like what the problems were. It's just the end resolution is completely different, right?
Yeah, because they take place at a completely different part of the story. But like, I feel like they still have the same kind of like, oh, well, a lot of bad stuff happened, but we can change and move forward, kind of like
and
attitude.
They all ended a confrontation between Toru and Akito. Just completely different.
Yeah.
Akito's still in a position of power in that one. In the original anime.
Yeah, I don't think there's much indication of like a Akito redemption in the original one.
No, it seems like Akito is always going to be that way.
Yeah, because that's back when Akito was more of a like spooky, big bad in the shadows kind of character rather than a deeply flawed and complex human being like she becomes in the later parts of the manga.
But yeah, they do have similar thematic points, I guess. Do you remember what the resolution is? Is Toru like, no, you can change? And then Akito's like, okay. Like, I don't remember actually.
I think there's a bit of a like relinquishing on Akito's part. Like, I don't think there's much indication that Akito is changing at that point, but I remember like Akito like has Toru by the hair and like there's some like shouting back and forth. And I remember Akito kind of like just sort of chills out and like lets go after whatever Toru said. I can't remember the exact kind of dialogue though. Yeah, I remember the animation being really nice for
the original one. There's a lot of action in that scene, and so like Akito is pulling Toru by the hair and stuff. So these like lifting her up and down kind of, and it's pretty.
I know like that too. I know Shigure is like holding Akito back, and I think Hattori might be there too. Doing the same, but...
like let them in. Shigure is definitely there.
Yeah. I know Toru says some, something dramatic and power friendshipy, and it like makes Akito chill out a bit. But
Wikipedia says Yuki, Shigure, and Hattori accompany Toru to the Soma estate, the Soma main residence, to see Akito. After an initially meek exchange, Akito seizes her by the hair in a rage. After Toru isn't able to say why she came, but Yuki and Shigure restrain him from hurting her further. After However, she begins to feel sympathetic, explaining that Akito still has a life to live. By releasing her hair from his hand, Akito eventually realizes that Toru accepts the Soma family curse. The series ends on a bright future day with Toru, Yuki, and Kyo back at the residence where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just feel like it didn't really indicate any change, and it definitely doesn't. Akito is not presented as a person with flaws or whatever, like you said. So
yeah, Akito is more
and
of
Yuki being there,
symbolic character.
Huh.
Yeah, Akito is more of the symbolic character at that point.
True.
Rather than
a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Yuki being there to hold back Akito would never have happened based on the like manga, but there was no known connection between the two of them at that point. So, like Yuki's backstory with Akito had not been covered by the manga or by the original anime. So
I think we had a bit of it, just not to the extent that they. Because like we still had like Yuki like freaking out when Akito comes to the school.
That's true.
And I think we had like a glimpse of like Yuki in the room or whatever, but it wasn't clear just how much emotional abuse Akito had inflicted on Yuki at that point.
Yeah, I think the end overall is better because of the second anime, because it shows Akito as like a more round character who's changed and whatever, and Toru too, because Toru also realizes that what she was doing by trying to like do something that's, I guess, quote unquote right, was still hurting other people and whatever. So.
Yeah, I think just by virtue of having like more story behind it, it's the newer one is a more like satisfying ending. But
yeah, that's true.
But I think they both do a pretty good job of wrapping up the stories they were telling.
Yeah, definitely with what they could in the first one, for sure.
Yeah, like the first one's definitely a bit more ambiguous, but that's because like it was obvious, like obviously not the end of the story. At that point, it was just the end of the story the anime was able to tell.
Okay, so a couple asked this similar questions. So Nalu and Kyoru and Riot Bean Kai asked, how do you feel about the fact that the final season was only 13 episodes compared to the first 2 seasons? As manga readers, how do you feel about the parts from the manga that didn't make the anime? Riot Bean Kai says, I've seen plenty of readers complaining about the pacing and what was kept cut from the anime. Do you think the anime is a standalone without the manga to compare to as well-crafted story? Do you think changes actually made the anime plot pacing not as good? And then what do you think about the pacing and breakup of the chapters, particularly in season 3? So this is kind of like, how do we feel about the pace of the last season and parts like the adaptation from manga to anime?
I feel like I'd have to watch it all again, like all at once to really get a good feel on the pacing, but it felt fine to me as we were watching it.
Yeah.
Like there were some changes I think were a good idea to like kind of keep the anime pacing going. Like we talked a little bit about like combining some like thematically similar chapters into one episode. And I think the changes they made in I think it was season 2 where they like brought a lot of stuff from later in the anime that didn't necessarily like have to be at a certain point in the timeline earlier, so that they could make it a bit like more of a season finale dramatic reveal stuff with Akito.
Yeah, I think some of it even in
like I think that was a good idea.
In season 1, like, because they had Hana and Uo's backstories like back to back, and I think one of them was much later in the anime. I forget.
Yeah, I think those were like good changes to make so that you could have like a better, more of a sound season structure with a dramatic like finale episode in each season.
Yeah, I think they did a good job splitting them up so that they all have like a good arc in the season, like beginning, middle, and end, and they all have good like points in the story where they're broken up and stuff.
Yeah.
I think after thinking about the last season, like how do we feel about the last season only being 13 episodes? Like I don't know if there would have been enough content to do 24, like in retrospect.
Yeah, we talked about it a bit. I think there would be enough for more than 13 episodes,
right,
but not quite enough for a full
25.
Yeah, like a full season. So
that's how. That's what I think.
And I think I'd rather cut some stuff than have filler. So
you don't want them to have their like sports tournament or whatever.
Yeah, I gotta have the sports tournament. And the beach wait.
Yeah, exactly. The beach episode that takes up half a season. Yes.
It's like they go back to the beach for season 3.
We're like, it's our break. Yeah, our school break. Definitely. Time to go to the beach. They could have had another school trip. They already went to Kyoto, but they could go to somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Even if they kept in every single thing and like kept in all the backstory with Kakeru's girlfriend Komaki, otherwise known as Meat Angel.
Yeah.
And like every single student council scene, and they like kind of followed the pacing exactly where it was like they had before with like 2 chapters or so an episode. I still don't think that there would be quite enough. And like it was shocking how much they would take things from like 3 or 4 chapters and put it into one episode, and then it would all make sense. And it didn't feel like fast, and it didn't feel like, other than like a couple of ideas like we talked about, like Momiji, like the idea of the people not giving up on the cat, or that like little running like gag / storyline where Yuki, there's like the Mogeta thing, and then Yuki gives to the other Mogeta thing or whatever, like that, all those little things that are like cute and fun, they're still not really like necessary overall to telling the story. So to me it doesn't feel like the pacing was too fast in the last season or something like that.
Yeah, stuff moves a lot faster in animation than when you're like reading a graphic novel type thing. So like there's stuff that like you're like, oh, there's so much content, but then like you can fit a whole lot of it into a pretty small space when you change it into like animation or TV show or something. So
yeah, I think some of the things especially like proved that was like the Rin stuff. Like I think we talked about that either all at once, but it was like 3 or 4 chapters or whatever. But then it was like one episode of the anime, and they had like literally everything. I remember that. And then but then basically they would just like combine a couple of scenes that were the same characters, like we talked about already with Momiji and like the student council and Yuki and Machi. So you kind of have like all the same important things. I think they actually did a good job of adapting things like that.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel weird. It's like, I guess we missed some time with those characters or whatever, but I think like in terms of the execution of the story, we didn't really miss anything by having it be adapted that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted a full season in my heart, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that if it was going to come down to adding a bunch of filler, then it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Or episodes being really slow, like not feeling the same pace as the rest of the series. I would say like that would be kind of a bummer too. Where it's like, why is the last season everything takes forever, and it's like 3 episodes to get one thing done or whatever, like it might be different. I think like manga readers probably complain about the pacing and stuff because there's like some scene they specifically wanted to see that they didn't get to see. I would believe that. Yeah.
Which I understand. Like,
yeah,
it's
I
like
feel the same.
If they could have like a, I don't know, like a 16 episode season or something. Like,
yeah, 17 episodes. Or whatever.
But that's kind of not really a thing in the industry.
This isn't like a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Or make the last season episodes like twice as long or whatever, but they can't really do that. They already like ran them out. Half of them didn't have openings or endings.
Yeah.
So they really like ran out as much time as possible in the last couple of episodes to get a bunch of stuff in. So.
Yeah, but I feel like, I mean, obviously I can't speak to that for real, but like I feel like if you were seeing this anime without any knowledge of the manga, I don't think it would feel like badly paced or
I'm just
anything.
thinking like when I remember seeing one of the Harry Potter movies, one of the ones where for where the book was much longer, like probably Order of the Phoenix or whatever, and watching it and being like, how I wonder how people are understanding what the fuck this movie is about.
Yeah.
If they hadn't read the book, because it was so fast paced, and I don't feel like that watching Garuba, you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel slow, so it doesn't feel too fast, it doesn't feel too slow. So yeah, even without that experience, it seems like you get a good, and I think like I said, they kind of hit the most important points of the story, so I think like you get the right themes and stuff too, as opposed to the 2001 anime, right? So so yeah, I think it's okay. In summary, like if we could have every single thing that we wanted to be animated, that would be fine, or that would be better, but it didn't seem to have worked out like that.
Yeah.
I'm happier that it exists than that it doesn't, than that it has things missing or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Death Small Cap says, did you like this take on the ending better than the manga, vice versa, or do you think they both stand up well?
Are they different?
I don't know, they're pretty similar. Like
There's like
Kamaki wasn't there in that one scene, but
they didn't get to tease Kyo.
yeah.
They didn't.
But even that was kind of like pre-ending. I guess they didn't have the bit where they're like, oh my god, they're dating, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, oh my god, they admitted it. But
I wonder how far back do you consider like the ending, like 2 or 3 episodes, like what's maybe just one. They didn't have any. I think one thing that it's like it doesn't really matter, but in the last episode they didn't have any of their. They had like a scene of them all taking a photo at school for their graduation. They like didn't really have that. They just kind of narrated over all of their any school stuff that happened at the end, and they were like, and now we're all leaving. And I think that it doesn't matter to the story, but that was a nice little moment at the end of the manga because they all struggled so much at school.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. I thought it was just like the photo, but
maybe it was. I thought they had a couple more panels, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't have the volumes here anymore.
I'm not walking over there. Fuck that. No, all of this I choose to do. All this episode I'm choosing to do completely from memory. That's why we had to go look up the other anime episode from the first one. I feel like they're pretty much the same. Some of the pacing may be different because some of the parts were like moved around. Like, didn't they move some of the stuff from Akito and Shigure was moved later or whatever? But I think they all kind of fit together well.
Yeah, I think everything was there. So we're really, yeah, they both feel good.
Maybe we're just not very picky. Is that it?
Maybe.
Like, I'm just happy this anime was redone. Okay, like.
Yeah, I always had kind of I can't think of the word I want to say. Kind of a like, kind of attitude toward a more relaxed attitude toward like adaptations in general. Like most of my life, like. I've had like a lot of people, like I'm a big reader and I've been friends with big readers and like, the whole thing like, oh my God, the book is so much better. I can't believe they ruined it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they didn't ruin it. The book is still there. And you have to make different choices for like a movie than a book because they're different mediums. Like,
yeah, like they're not. 100%.
Yeah. And there's some things where it's like, I love the book and the movie. And I think they're pretty much different properties, but like they're still good as their own things. Yeah. It's like the Ghibli movie Howl's Moving Castle is not a very good adaptation of the book Howl's Moving Castle, but it's a really good movie.
But it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy both of them for different reasons.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I feel like the ending is essentially the same, at least in all the pieces that are included. And like the last part of the question is, do you think they both stand out well? So is that a question about like who gets paired off with whom and whatever? Like, is that we're reading too much into the question? They're the same. So I guess I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I feel like it would take, I mean, I guess you think you'd have to come back in a few years to answer, like, if the anime ending stands up.
It's, like, fine.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think, like, what I learned most about this anime is, like, I just don't like anime that much in general. Like, there's, like, things that are anime things that I don't like. Like, I didn't, like... all the scenes where they have all the super, like, exaggerated, like, violence, like, where Kyo flings Toru into the air and Akito, like, flies across it. And it's just, like, this is all, like, ridiculous. Like, it's not like that in the manga, right? Not that manga isn't ridiculous. But I'm just saying, I feel like that's a thing that, like, people do in anime for some reason that's, like, not necessary. But anyway, whatever. That's a side rant.
Yeah, I enjoy watching, like anime, but it's, like, in general, just the way I consume things, I prefer to consume things, like, reading them because I get really distracted when I'm watching things. Like I was watching an episode of a TV show the other night. It was like a 45-minute episode. It took me like 2 hours to watch because I kept like pausing to like look at other stuff and go make a snack and stuff. And it's like, and I enjoyed the episode. It wasn't like I was bored. I was just like, it's easy to do other things while you're watching something.
Yeah.
Or I'd like get distracted and then like have to rewind it and stuff.
I feel like I prefer to either not watch them at all or be completely 100% focused, depending on what the thing
that's why I like going to movie theaters because you're kind of like enforced focus. Like it's all I can do is eat popcorn and watch the movie. Yeah. Unless I want to be an asshole and take out my phone, which I will never do.
No, how rude. If you're going to take out your phone, just watch the movie at home. You don't need to pay $25 to go to a movie theater and sit there with your fucking phone out. My husband is the kind of person who constantly watches movies like while he works and like does stuff, which I absolutely can't do. So
yeah, I'll do that with stuff I've seen a bunch of times before. Like I used to in college, I would always put on The Lion King when I was studying for finals because like I know that movie by heart. And so I can just like I'll be looking down studying and then like look up and be like, oh, it's this part. I'll watch it for a couple minutes and then. But if I was watching something for the first time, there's no way I could do it without focusing my attention on it. Yeah, and it's like I like movies and I like TV shows. It's just they take longer for me to consume.
Because you're distracted. Because you're distractible.
Maybe that's why I like video games so much. Is there's no way to half pay attention to a video game.
No, you have to be focused.
Unless it's like Tetris, and even then you're gonna lose at Tetris.
I made a mistake once of listening to a podcast. There's this podcast that I liked that was running for a while called Switched on Pop, which is about they like critically analyze pop music, and there was an episode about Taylor Swift. It was all about all of Taylor Swift's music, and I did one of those mazes in Breath of the Wild at the same time. And now every time I think about Legend of Zelda, I always think about Taylor Swift. It was like a huge mistake. Just saying. Because you have to be focused. Like I was so focused on it and then hearing it at the same time. And it's like I have this very vivid memory of doing that trial and then also listening to this podcast. So anyway, that's a side rant.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, are you more of a visual person? Like visual learner or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell from the number of alliterations that you put in your script.
I wrote another one in this summary. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, this is going to be a mistake, but I like it, so I'm keeping it.
It's okay. No matter how many times you say it, it'll only sound like you say it one time in the final cut.
Power of editing.
Yeah, I just don't do that. The words that go into the things that I read sound like what I say. So anyway, should I ask you the next question?
Sure.
To answer your question, do you like his take on the ending better than the manga or vice versa? I think they're kind of I think we're agreed they're kind of the same, so I don't know. And then this Riot Bean Kai asks, did you read or watch a lot of anime only reactions to the show? Any favorites?
Not at all.
No. No. You know, I used to go and read like I was I'm still in the Discord server and like look at stuff that people said, but then I'd be like, oh, that's an interesting take, but I didn't really want to have that kind of like affecting my take on things that were coming out, like on the series and on the anime. So I stopped doing that on purpose. I haven't watched any reactions to anything.
Yeah, I actually enjoy seeing people's reactions to things that I already know really well, but I think like not something as it's coming out so much. Like I really enjoyed getting your like unspoiled reactions on Fullmetal Alchemist as we
my absolute joy. Yeah.
As we go through it, and like I've enjoyed like going through like when people do like live blogs of a show or whatever, when it's a show I really like or whatever and already know really well. But yeah, I don't really do that like while something is coming out because usually I get annoyed.
Like, that's not what it's like. I do remember people complaining about Toru. There were some complaints about Toru being mad about her dad dying. And they're like, oh my God, she hated him because he died. And it's like, it's not like that. Like, why do you think that? Or like I would wait until recording the episode. I had like a Tumblr ban on myself until we recorded the episode basically every time so that I didn't read other people's opinions.
Yeah. Sometimes I just like, when something's still coming out, I get really mad at people who are like, get all like end of the world over like every little thing, and I'm like, it's not even over yet, Jesus Christ. It's like people who like watch a movie trailer and are like, oh my God, it's gonna suck, it's gonna be the worst thing ever, how could they ruin this, blah blah blah. I'm like, you haven't even seen it, you've seen 2 minutes of it out of context.
Wow, so many feelings that you have.
It just drives me crazy when people like, and it's like you're totally allowed to think, wow, that sucks, I don't want to watch it. Like that's a fair opinion, but if you're like, I've seen this 2-minute trailer, or I've seen like 1 episode and I can conclude that this entire series sucks or whatever. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
You can conclude that you have no interest in watching it. That's fair.
Right, exactly.
But you can't be like, it sucks based off this thing that I've watched. It's like this short thing that I've watched. It's like, I can declare that it totally sucks. It's like, no, you can't.
There's like cancel culture. And then there's like the complete opposite of cancel culture, which is like, I am right and this is like right and the best, and like, you know what I mean, where it's like this, instead of being like this person's wrong, it's like I'm 100% right and I know everything, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I watched this and it wasn't for me. It's like, this is 100% awful, and there's like no in between.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know. I don't know
I don't
what
know,
it
it's like
is.
the death of opinions in a way. It's like everything has
Yeah,
to
you
be
can't have an
like a
opinion.
fact, and it's like no, it's
No, you can just say you don't like it. It's fine.
hmm and like
And
everything,
also,
and
and you
like
can be polite about it.
yeah, and like everything you dislike has to be like objectively terrible, and everything you like has to be objectively great. It's like no, there's stuff I hate that I can acknowledge is like artistically really good
Yeah.
or like technically really well made or whatever, and then there's like stuff I love where I'm like, oh no, it's terrible. I'm gonna watch it 5 more times. Like,
I had these old coworkers and we had a list. So with completely independently, we made lists of our top 10 favorite movies. And then we talked about them and then it would be like, okay, like this is going to sound dumb, but one of my top 10 favorite movies is like whatever. And then they every single like all of us three had things on our list that were completely stupid. They were horrible movies or whatever,
mhm,
but they all had like reasons why. It would be like, oh, I watched this movie with my family, or like I think this is really funny, and it's like a lot of
mhm,
people don't like it, but I like it, or whatever. So everybody had like movies that were objectively great and movies that were like objectively terrible, but personally
mhm,
they liked.
yeah,
So I feel like that's reasonable.
mhm,
That's like a normal reaction. There's a lot of grandstanding on the internet, though.
mhm. Yeah, there's and like I know people exaggerate their stuff for internet reactions, but it's like some people seem like to really believe that, and it's like please calm down.
But those are the ones that are the
Um,
worst. Because
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like
um,
take a break. It's just a
mhm,
movie. Like
yeah, but yeah, like there's a I think I've told you the story. There was some movie I was talking to my one of my college roommates about. I can't remember what movie it was. It might have been Dragonheart.
yeah.
But anyway, but I like asked if they'd. I was like talking about it, and they said they'd never seen it. I'm like, oh, you should. And they're like, is it good? And I was like, not really, but you should watch
No.
it.
It's like when we were trying to tell it, we were talking about Dirty Dancing, and with one of my friends who had never seen it, and this was like at a table. There was like maybe 10 of us. We were at dim sum. This is very important for the context of this conversation. And she was like, "Is it good?" And everybody looked at each other. Like everybody else who was talking about it was like, "No, it's a fine movie." Someone in the audience is probably really offended that I'm describing Dirty Dancing that way, and that person is your mom who loves Dirty Dancing.
Yes.
But yeah, we were like, "It's
We're gonna get an angry
fine."
anonymous hate letter, and it's gonna be from my mother.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's not that much great about it either. Like, it's fine, right? It's like a
Mhm.
80s, like, whatever
It's
romance movie.
yeah, it's like it is very much an '80s movie.
It's an 80s movie. It's like if 80s movie is like a genre of movie. It's kind of like
hmm
90s rom-com. It's like a whole genre, you know?
hmm
It's like saying, is You've Got Mail good? Like, well, I don't think so, but I've seen it a lot.
Yeah,
So, like, I don't know. Anyway.
yeah. Like a lot of the movies I like personally enjoy best are like in the like 6 point something range on IMDb. Like Dragonheart is 6.5 out of 10, by the way, on IMDb.
You know that offhand.
I just Googled it.
I can't say that I've ever seen Dragonheart.
You
But
should
maybe
watch
I'll have
it.
to. Well, is it good?
Not really, but yeah. It has Sean Connery as a dragon. Take
What?
judge as you will from that information.
Maybe I should watch it. Maybe I should. Next question? Is it? Did I watch? Okay, no, we didn't. We answered that question. That was the question.
Yeah, it's like we went way off
We went.
way off
Well,
rails
this
on
is
that
your
one a bit,
last
but
tangent. Enjoy. Okay.
no, I doubt that's true. Look at how many questions
Yeah, that's
we
true.
have
There's
left.
more questions left. You're right. So the next topic is like questions about the announced spin-off. Hope everyone's ready.
All right, so first we have I always want to read their number out the way you did the first time.
You mean a non 42069?
Yes. So first from loyal listener Anon 42069, despite Ellen ruining their name, is do you think they cut out Meat Angel and Toru's parents' weird relationship because of less work time due to COVID? And then Riot Bean Kai says, what are your thoughts on the Kyoko Katsuya story being cut so it could be turned into an OVA? And then What the Bananas says, how are you feeling about the spin-off announcement? And if you were in charge, what would you make the focus of a new spin-off series to Fruits Basket?
How do you feel about the OVA?
I'll watch it. Like, I'm I'm neutral to positive on the Kyoko Katsuya storyline. Like the the middle school thing is but
Well, we already warned our listeners multiple times
yeah.
to not talk to strangers until they're 20 or
Yeah.
whatever.
But I like the story itself, and they wind up being like
They were happy together.
they wind up being seems to be good for each other, and like Katsuya like seemed to have been a really good father to Toru when he was around and everything. So
It turned out okay, even though it was sketchy.
yeah, it's like I mean I wouldn't take it as a guide on what to do in real life, but it's a manga.
Well, if you ever find yourself in the company of a family cursed with the zodiac spirits, then maybe you can live your life differently. Yeah, I mean, I would watch it. I'll probably watch it when it comes out or whatever they're gonna do. But I don't. I definitely like their relationship is definitely considered controversial, and so I don't know if I was producing it, if I would make that choice. But
I think I would up it to high school.
Oh, maybe they'll just change her character. That's possible.
Yeah, because it's like I think her being well, I think her being in school and at the mercy of her terrible parents, and Katsuya being a not very ambitious student teacher is relevant to why they hit it off and why they were beneficial to each other. So I think that you could keep those elements while making it a little bit less sketchy.
I wonder if they'll change it. Maybe they will. Maybe they will.
That's the choice I would make if I were doing it. So I would just make her put her in high school instead of middle school.
Yeah, I forget how much they talked about her backstory with him.
Yeah, I don't think they really said much about it.
The thing is, like, he was the only like adult in her life, or the only person in her life who probably like actually cared about her. So, yeah, I mean, I think some people were pleased that so one of our mutual friends, Kayla, asked me, what do you think about this announcement of this OVA? And I was like, well, let me tell you. and had like a whole rant because I first had to explain why it's controversial, and then I was just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I would do, but
I did laugh when it was announced just because there were so many people who were like, please that it was cut. And I was just like, ha.
Can't confirm. I sent Kayla the Twitter announcement and she just said, ha. And that was it. I mean, like, yeah, whatever. But then I think, like, if you wanted to... So the only reason that I can think that they want to do this OVA is, like, well, they would just want to air more things to make more money. So why wouldn't you just do another? Like, why wouldn't you adapt another?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone's really passionate about the Kyoko Katsuya story.
someone in the production team was like, it has to happen.
Yeah, I do think there was some stuff suffered a little bit from not having that in the main story.
Yeah, like the whole last scene, I remember we were where she like wakes up at the beach and whatever. I was like, did they explain this at all? Like we were talking about that episode.
Yeah, because like Katsuya bringing her to the beach.
Yeah. And like
a
why
significant moment.
The way that Kyoko reacted when he died is sort of unexplained, and like why.
Yeah, we didn't ever really get the full. Yeah, we didn't ever really get that full.
No, it's just like she left for
I mean,
a long
I think
time.
It's like I think you can kind of work out the broad strokes of what happened, but
yeah, but like her perspective on it is missing, so you don't feel much. Maybe you don't feel as sympathetic or whatever. I don't know. It's the same with, and then like that's probably why those people commented like, "Oh, how dare Toru be mad at her dad for dying?" But it's like, but the extent of what happened after wasn't shown in the anime. I guess we can't talk about this very much without spoiling this OVA, but maybe.
And we also lost some of the depth of Toru's grandfather's character too.
Yeah, true. I mean, like it's semi-essential to the main story because it affects Toru's character. Like it affects Toru. And
it's important background. I think they put enough in to make it work, but I think there is some nuance and like emotional depth that you lose from not having it.
Yeah, I know I said that I'm okay with the 13 episodes, but I think like Toru's arc, all of that stuff is just like the time to absorb all of that is reduced by making the third season 13 episodes. So her kind of like character growth kind of gets shafted by shortening it, but whatever.
Yeah, but I think like the time to put that in would have been earlier rather than in season 3. So I guess they could have
making OVA isn't gonna make that better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so I'm not like super excited about it, but I'll watch it.
Yeah. I'll partake when it's available on Crunchyroll. Are we going to be forced to do a episode about it? Maybe. But yeah,
it'll be fun to see the reactions if they keep it exactly the same.
It'll be fun if they change it. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we already spoiled too much. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay. I think that's kind of the expectation for this kind of wrap-up episode, since people are asking us about.
I told them up front. I warned them.
Yeah, the opinions on
the manga versus anime.
On manga versus anime, yeah.
Yeah, true. So basically, generally ambivalent, but we'll watch it is the answer.
Yeah. Neutral to positive.
Neutral to positive. And also, what would you focus as? Would you make as a spin-off? I don't know why you wouldn't just do another as a spin-off, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you have a captive audience enough to make like an OVA, why wouldn't you just make another? But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Kimmy's Basket.
Yeah, Kimmy's Basket, most important of all, obviously.
Just a whole spin-off from Kimmy's point of view.
Like, and then Kimmy walked into the student council room and Union was there. It's all narrated by her.
Yes.
It's like she's the only voice actress and all she does is narrate her own story. Why don't we get paid to write this stuff? Okay, we're on to our next session, which is like anime related but what if questions, which are some of my favorite ones that we get, more like hypothetical questions. But so Death Small Caps asked, how do you think the series would have been different if Yuki, Toru, and Kyo's roles had been switched? So like Toru is the cat, Kyo is the rat, Yuki's just a regular Joe. And then I guess if Toru was the rat, Kyo is a Joe, and Yuki's the cat. I'm not sure they'd be much different, but still.
It's hard to say because I feel like their roles are so vital to like their personalities.
Yeah. Because Toru's whole perspective is that she's external to the curse. She's external to the family.
Yeah.
But I guess what you're saying is like if the person external had the personality of Kyo or the person external had the personality of Yuki, then maybe that's the question.
No. Because it's like so much of Kyo's like anger issues and stuff is based on his role as the cat, and Yuki's issues is like so on and so forth.
I wonder how much separated their personality is from their backstory. Kyo and Toru actually have a similar. If Kyo is the Joe, Kyo and Toru actually have a similar backstory in the sense that they lost like they don't have a good relationship with their parents. They like lost their parents, although Kyo has Shisho, so it's a little bit different. And then Yuki invites him to stay with them, and then there are 3 bachelors in the house or whatever, and then Toru jumps through the roof. Is that what happens?
I was gonna say, does that mean like Shisho raises Toru as a martial arts master?
Endless speculation. She'd be like Kagura but like controlled.
I feel like she'd be like sobbing as she punches people.
I'm sorry. We have to fight because you're the cat and I'm the rat or whatever. I could see Toru being the rat. She's kind of, or like being, I could see Toru reacting similarly to Yuki in the situation that he was in. So if Toru was like taken by Aikido and the head and the favorite in the family and stuff, I think she might withdraw. So maybe that should be in the same situation. And like being, they said that Toru was like bullied and stuff as a kid, so she was kind of a loner until she met Hana and Uo. Maybe it would be the same. Like maybe she would end up in a similar situation to Yuki, and then Haru would be her best friend.
Yuki did have kind of a Toru-like influence on baby Haru.
That's true. Well, Yuki also, once he's more like confident and stuff, he has similar sort of like attributes. Like he did the Toru thing to Machi, basically.
Yeah.
Kyo ran away into the woods or whatever, so he can prove that he can live in the woods by himself and pitch a tent on a random person's property. You think Yuki would have just died on the streets because he couldn't cook for himself or anything if he was alone without parents. Like,
yeah, he wouldn't have been able to set up the tent. It'd be all like sad and slumped over.
They would find him like in a sleeping bag on the ground. Just like, what are you doing here? Eating like a ramen out of the packet but not cooked or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh. Toru would mysteriously take him in and then go use her rat army to pick up all of his stuff. Can you imagine Toru controlling rats? They would all be so cute. It'd be like fucking like Cinderella.
She would like politely ask them every time.
She'd give them high fives when they showed up and stuff.
Excuse me, guys, could we?
And they're like, I love when Toru calls us to come dig up people's stuff and like fight with the cat. If Kyo and Toru were mortal enemies, so Toru was the rat and Kyo was the cat. It'd be a different kind of love story, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think Kyo would be able to keep up his rage if it was someone like Toru.
He jumps through. He's like, it's all that damn rat's fault. It's all her fault. And then he jumps through the roof and she's like, I made muffins. And he's like, damn it. You bastard.
As he's eating them.
Yeah. Toru does everything perfectly, and everyone. They already hate her for being friends with Yuki, so then they're just like, and she's perfect. She gets perfect grades or whatever. Or then Tori becomes head of the student council. This doesn't really answer the question. None of that has to do with her being the rat. It's just like just substituting Toru for Yuki's role in the story. As Decimal Cap said, I'm not sure if they'd be that much different, but still, yeah. I don't know. I agree, but the ideas are good. Do you have any additional headcanon to throw in here?
I don't think so.
Okay. You want to ask the next question?
This one comes from Anon42069.
42069, you mean?
Yes. So, if you could be any character for a day, who would it be? If you were a Zodiac member, would you spend most of the day as an animal? If you choose Akito, would you transfer her money into your bank accounts? LOL.
I wonder if Akito has money personally. It's just the family money, right? I guess she's in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be Kureno so that I could use his giant computer and just like play Tetris all day. While you're supposed to be doing whatever hacker thing he's supposed to do. Oh, right.
I would want to be someone like... Huh? I would want to be someone like far away from the entire family. Like, I don't know, maybe one of Kyo's random friends or something.
Oh yeah, some random, like, you could be Now. Actually, I think that I would be Now and be super bitter about everybody all the time.
Could everyone please get back to work?
I'll be Kimi. I don't have the audacity to be Kimi.
Few do.
She's definitely one of a kind. Maybe Uo. I feel like now that things have settled down in her life, she's doing good. She's just got her like part-time job and she's like living her life. Are these boring answers? I don't think I definitely don't. Would you want to be one of the Zodiac? And would you spend time as the animal? I started thinking about all of them and I made a face. It's like I think we answered before, if you could be a Zodiac animal, what would you be or whatever. And I remember saying that I would be a horse because then you could like run or whatever. I don't know. Or fly, be a bird. But Kureno's not a bird anymore. He can't fly anymore, so. What's the point other than to use his hacker skills? You could be like Momo. I bet Momo has a pretty good life. Spying on her mysterious, the boy who looks exactly like her that's not related to her in any way. Doing her violin lessons. Shigure, just lay around the house and then like churn out a bunch of work at the last minute.
Yeah. It's like, isn't that what we already do?
Yeah. That is... The only difference would be you're now part of a rich family. Oh, I bet Kakiri would have a fun day. He's like looking at like stupid photos on his phone and just like hanging out and having fun. It might be fun to be back in high school again, just with less drama than the Somas.
Yeah, I guess he's past most of his trauma.
Family drama. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be so bad to spend a day.
As Kakiri.
Yeah.
I should ask the next question.
Sure.
Oh, the next question also comes from Anon42069, which is, who do you think is taller, Yuki or Kyo? Can we get the official stats? I forgot to look this up. There's got to be a list somewhere of all of their information. That's how anime works.
Or like one of those like height chart things where they're all standing.
According to the Fruits Basket wiki, Kyo is 5'7". How about Yuki? Wait, they're both 5'7"? No. Don't lie to me. Oh, Kyo weighs slightly more. He's more bulky.
I feel like Yuki's got to be like half an inch taller and it enrages Kyo.
Probably. Yeah, in a hypothetical sense, not using the Fruits Basket wiki. Yuki, effortlessly grew slightly taller, probably. And it pisses Kyo off. He's like, he gets everything. I have to work for everything, even my height. That stupid rat is like half an inch taller than me. And then Kyo, like, whenever they're like, oh, how tall are you or whatever, Yuki just like stares directly at Kyo and is like, whatever, 5'7.5", and then Kyo is like, God damn
Kyo
you,
flips
damn
the
you,
table.
rat. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Another one from Anon42069. If you had the time to write a fanfic of this, what do you think would be the perfect AU?
The perfect AU is such a tall, hard ask.
Space pirates.
That's a perfect AU for anything.
Yes.
Space pirates. Well, when I read this question, my immediate answer in my head was Harry Potter. And there's obviously no other answer. Then you sort them all into their houses. Kyo gets put into Hufflepuff and he hates it.
Yeah, you could do some. I mean, there's some like.
I I feel like Magic Wizard School, Magic Witch and Wizard School.
Yeah, there's some like long-standing family drama kind of stuff in Harry Potter universe. So
they're cursed. So
there's some like ancient pureblood family with mysterious stuff. I don't know. I haven't read Harry Potter in a while.
Yeah, so you're saying the Somas are an ancient pureblood family, and then they invite a mudblood girl to live with them, and then she's able to like break the spell that's cursed the family for years. It's perfect. It writes itself.
Yeah, they all pretend they all just become really good animaguses, but they're actually cursed.
Just like Remus, although he didn't pretend, they just covered for him.
Yeah. But also consider space pirates.
Yeah. What would the space pirate plot be? They're all like a crew.
Space pirates. Yes.
I think they're all a crew on a ship. The Somas are all a crew on a ship, and it's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean at the beginning, where they're like, "Oh my god, a girl is on the ship. What do we do?" And then they're all cursed. It's just like Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, but also in space.
Kito's like, you best start believing in ghost stories, Basanda, because you're in one.
No, Yuki has to say that. Yuki has to be the weird one because he's so weird at the beginning. Because you're in one. Barbossa. So Barbossa can be Yuki, or like you can be like Barbossa, and then Jack would have to be like Kyo is like Captain Jack. So. So how do you mysteriously get on? They'll have to land on a planet and then they pick him up, or whatever. Oh, everything's perfect. Actually, no. Yuki's like Will Turner because Will Turner's such a goody, and then Kyo's Captain Jack. So does that make Sugar Ray Barbossa?
With the secret internal asshole side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that he has that. He becomes kind of a dick later when he becomes more confident and swarthy. Again, it writes itself. This is like Pirates of the Caribbean in space, and also it's proof.
Yes.
Why haven't we written these fanfics?
It's like, notice how all our references are from like the early 2000s.
Hey, shut up. They know that we're millennials. They know how, like, what was the word we learned yesterday? Chewy? They know how chewy we are.
It was like Chugi.
I don't know anything about TikTok. Oh, should I cut all of this? I don't want people to know how much of an idiot I am. I feel like the best AU is the high school AU. When it's a high school anime, then you can't have a high school AU unless it's a wizard high school, like I already said.
Well, then it's got to be a coffee shop AU.
Oh, what's the coffee shop AU? Yuki's a barista, and then Toru comes in, and then she breaks a vase and then has to work for it.
I was going to say, wait, it's becoming Host Club.
Oh, this is why they don't pay us to write anything, so we don't have any original ideas.
I feel like Toru would be the barista, and she keeps having these rich people with problems come into her coffee shop.
Oh, it's a bar. It's a bar AU.
Yes, but it's coffee shop because they're teenagers.
Oh, I understand.
I don't know. I haven't actually read them in coffee shop AUs to know what the standard of a coffee shop AU is. I think it's generally like some of the cast works at a coffee shop and some of them come in and then they fall in love.
Oh, that sounds good. Oh, we're moving on to a new segment, and this segment is Animal Break. Listeners will be familiar with all our previous talking about different animals and stuff. And so I segmented these next questions into a full animal break, all about animals. So the first note/question is from Anon42069, and they write, I just want to let you know that I recently found out that foals are very nippy and fluffy and have the bushiest little tails, and it's really fun to think about baby Rin looking like that. Yes, I agree. I feel like it's been so long since we talked about animals. It's very important.
And then Anon42069 and Riot Bean Kai both ask how our pets are doing.
Yay.
Anon42069 specified bourbon kitties.
We don't have any new pets. You don't have any new pets. Oh, no, wait. No. They don't know about your noodle, do they? Have we?
Yeah, I guess we said that on the. I think we
only
did on the Fullmetal Alchemist questions. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I have a snake now.
Yeah.
someone abandoned her at my work, and I took her in. So I acquired a snake.
That's good.
Her name is Soba because she's a noodle. Burb is doing good. You guys have probably heard him so far in this podcast, unless Ellen's really good at editing him out.
Nope. Not behind some of the things you said already. The cats are good. One of them broke his little tooth mysteriously, though. And I'm not happy about that, so he's probably gonna have to get that extracted. But whatever. He doesn't seem to give a shit about it, so I guess he's fine.
He's too dumb to care.
Definitely. I'm more like the helicopter parent that's like, what did you do? What did you do? Your poor little mouth. And he's just like slow blinking or whatever, blinking one eye at a time. But yeah, they're fine. They're fluffy. My cats are they're like just over a year old now. So they're they're still growing. So sometimes I look at them and I'm like, when did you get that big? Like, and they're fluffy, getting more and more fluffy. Okay, our next question is, if your pets were possessed by a zodiac spirit, which would most fit their personality?
I think Bowie's the boar.
Yeah, he seems to just be all up into things without thinking.
He's like, I love you so much, chomp.
You're like, my skin, my delicate skin. I think, wait, so would Soba be possessed by the snake because she's a snake?
She's a snake.
Snake! Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think about my cats. The obvious answer is cat, but... I mean, like, he's shy, but I'm trying to remember what the actual, like, proper zodiac traits are supposed to be. If we're going off of, like, Furuba rules, then Haku would definitely be the tiger, like Kisa. He's, like, super shy and quiet. He's known to chomp a little bit, so that makes sense. And then, although they're both good, they don't really bite that much. And then Hal's boorish also, like, he's always getting into stuff, but not because he loves us. I think he's more, like, curious.
Non-for 2069 asks, oh yeah, we're on a new section now. It's for about us.
Yeah, we're back to about us. Oh, and about random stuff. This is also etc. There's some other things that aren't, but yeah, mostly about us, I think.
Hi. Non-for 2069 says, how are you guys doing despite the heat waves and all?
I'm good. I just quit my job and I have a new job lined up, so I'm excited about that because it was really fucking busy and I hated it so much. So now that's done. Oh, also there's not really a heat wave here. It's like cold and rainy. It's like in the 60s and rainy, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's been hot where I am, but we've had some storms lately, so it's cooled up a little bit. So
do you feel like it's
also good?
Is it normal for you though? Because isn't it always kind of hot there? I forget.
I don't know. It gets kind of hot in the summer, I guess. I don't like it, so like every time it gets hot, I'm like, why is it so hot? Even if it's normal hot for wherever I am. So
I feel the same way. It's like, oh, it's like in the 60s and rainy, no problem. That's fine. Although I wish it would be a little bit sunnier for the garden, but yeah, not.
Yeah, I like to live at like the mid 70s, but
I'd like that too. We just don't get that option.
At
least I live in a place where even though it goes to like -20 in the winter, it doesn't really go above like the. There's a couple days where it was like the upper 80s, but if it's like twice a year, then whatever, who cares, you know? So you're good. Anything else interesting happening in your life?
Not really. Work's been busy, but I still like my job, so.
That's good. You don't hate it like me. You don't loathe it.
No.
Okay, that's good. It's fine. I took care of that problem. So it's done for now. Now we'll see what new things come in a new job.
New things to hate.
Yeah, probably. But one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was a younger person, and I was thinking about leaving my first like kind of full-time job. I was like, I don't know, there's like good things, but there's like bad things. And the person I was talking to was like, well, the thing is like there are problems at every job, but sometimes you have to trade your problems for new problems. So
yeah,
for different problems, which is definitely true.
Yeah, a good thing I learned early on is like it's like you're an adult, you can change it if you're in a situation that's bad at like work or whatever. So
I also feel like I had people that I worked with when they were not happy about their current job, and they would complain to like all the other like, you know, never to their manager, but like to everybody else, like to all of their other like kind of people at the same level as them, and it just like makes work really shitty because you're like, I don't feel like that, and I don't like, you know. Like, I get that you're upset, but, like, you could just leave or whatever. And then those type of people always hang on the longest, where they're like, I hate my job, and they're there for, like, 6 more months. And I specifically tried not to talk to certain people about, like, some other people already know some of the problems with the place that I was working at, or they're, you know, or whatever. But like we had a bunch of new people join, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just leaving because I want something different. Like I didn't tell them about all the problems because it doesn't help them. Like anyway, whatever. Every work experience is different for every person there. So anyway, whatever. That's my rant about that. Anon for 2069 also asks, how do you feel you've improved as podcasters over the years? I feel like you both talk more confidently now, and that's cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
First of all.
I also feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you listen to like if you listen to the first like 15 episodes, first of all, thanks for sticking around. Because Kayla's audio quality improved way more after that because I changed the way that we record, which helped a lot. Well, which helped significantly. It was the only thing that made a difference. And then I think also just if you listen to the first episodes, it's kind of like we didn't really know what we were doing. So it's like I remember the first summary is like really slow and whatever. And now I think we just like have regular conversation and it's good. And I think I've gotten better at summarizing. I think you've gotten really good at summarizing, especially for equivalent exchange. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten into a groove for both of our shows. So
I also don't worry as much about things. Like people used to send a lot of comments. Like people always have an opinion about everything you do online. And so it wasn't a lot, and we never got any like really negative, like never like hate comments or spamming or anything like that. But people would be like, I think you should talk about this, or you missed this thing, or you missed that thing. And then after a while, I was just like, I don't really care. Like, which helps a lot. So yeah, like I appreciate their feedback in general, but like people's feedback in general. But when they're just like, you missed this, it's like, I didn't miss anything. I purposely didn't say it or didn't think it was important to talk about or whatever. Like, anyway, you know, you got things to say, make your own podcast. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, so some recently was like, it's kind of long or whatever. And I was like, well, I like long podcasts, so the target audience is people like me.
Yeah. And then sometimes, like, we mentioned, must have been an equivalent exchange when we did the question episode, but I mentioned I have a podcast with my sister about geology, and sometimes people ask her stuff, or like they send really nice messages and stuff, and I think she's kind of overwhelmed sometimes by like how much people send, because we get like a lot of comments. It's surprising, and we haven't released an episode for like 2 months, so and it's there's people who still send comments, which is very sweet, but it's like if you don't have any obligation to like reply to them or whatever. Like I feel like more confident in managing things in general for the podcast and kind of like what this is to us. Like it's a hobby, and you know, if an episode is late, then whatever. Like sometimes I just like can't. Like that's how it is. So so I kind of feel more confident in like what we're actually the quality. I think of what we're talking about is improved and is better, and then like how I feel more confident in like managing what's important to me, I guess, in the podcast. Yeah. So yeah.
Des Small Caps asks, do you think you would have done this podcast if there hadn't been a new TV series coming out?
I think so.
Yeah, we talked about it for a long time.
I'm pretty sure I messaged you at least a year before they even announced the anime. And I was like, or we were talking about it for a while. Like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, I want to do a podcast about Furuba. We should do that. And it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then nothing happened for a long time just because it takes a long time for things to happen when you have a life and stuff. Yeah. And like, I think that was when we were renovating our house a lot. Like I was just doing a bunch of other stuff. And then eventually they announced it. And I was like, well, now we have to do it because now it's fake. So I guess the planning of the release definitely did happen around after they announced the new anime, but I think we would have done it without the anime coming out.
I think it was a good like kick in the pants to actually get it started, but the plan was definitely there before the announcement in some form.
Sure. It was like we had agreed that we would do a project and it would be a Furuba podcast, but like the actual like timeline or like when it was going to start or whatever, it was all came, I think, after they made the announcement. I was like, we have to start before so that we're like ahead and we can like read ahead and talk about the anime at the same time, and maybe we'll talk about it. And then we obviously didn't have a plan because the first like 3 episodes of the anime, like anime breaks didn't start until the first couple of episodes of the anime had come out, and then I was like, I think we do need to have like a completely separate thing to talk about. And we, in addition to like
didn't we like we talked like briefly about the episodes like at the end of our like normal episodes about the anime, I think the first couple times.
And then I did something confusing where I named them episode anime break 1, and it was actually about episode 3 or 4. Yeah. And so then I went right back and renamed all of them. So like I feel like in terms of improving as podcasters, I think like
long-term planning.
Long-term planning. And one thing that we did for this podcast in particular, And I like changed the plan a lot actually during COVID because we did a couple more longer episodes that we weren't scheduled to do. Yeah, one thing that I learned, or I think things that we learned and did over in this podcast that were interesting, or like we did a couple of experimental things, which was cool. Like we streamed, we had our radio show where we incorporated a radio show. There was an episode where I made you fight with me. You were as Kakeru. So I kind of liked exploring like different things. So it's a good venue to like experiment, I think. So we've done stuff like that, and I think that helps too. I think it's going to help us with our next project, perhaps. Or our future projects. I feel like we've done interesting things. So yeah, so we definitely would have done it. So the next question also comes from Death Small Caps, and it's, do you guys have plans to record in person with each other once COVID restrictions have relaxed in a sensible way? That's probably no. I mean, I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to someday.
No plans, but yeah.
No. We don't live together. We talked about this before, but we live in
we all live in different places.
Yeah.
Remember we were gonna do one that one time, and then you like lost your voice.
Yeah, I was sick. I went to visit because my sister also used to live in the same area as Kayla, so I was visiting both of them, and I was like, "Oh, I have a little cold, but it'll be fine." And like we did this very like physical event the first day that I got there, and so I feel like that contributed to me getting slightly sicker. I mean, I didn't feel like that bad, but I did completely lose my voice. It was like so bad that we would go to restaurants and they'd be like, "What do you want?" And I'd be like, "What?" And then they'd be like, "What?" And I'd have to like tug one of the other people at the table and like whisper my order in their ear.
Yeah, they were like all whispering for no reason, just because you were whispering.
Yeah, that was really funny. I caused a phenomenon. And the really funny thing was when I left the trip and went back to work, everybody was like, "Wow, your voice is horrible. What happened?" And I was like, "This is nothing. You can like hear me talking. Like I couldn't, it literally had no volume." So yeah, that was crazy. That was I don't think I've ever lost my voice like that, that one time. So yeah, we had plans to record in person, but then we couldn't. That was feel like a rough year for sickness for me, because then that was when I was concussed also later that year. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice too, but we don't have any plans. Yeah.
Right, Bean Kai asks, would you make Kazum watch the anime, and do you think he'd like it? If he does watch it, does he have a Twitter or something so I can follow him live tweeting his reactions? Yeah.
I don't think Kazum has a Twitter.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Kazum is our third co-host on our Full Alchemist podcast, Equivalent Exchange.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he said he watched it, but he doesn't remember.
I think he said he watched some of the. I think he said he watched some of the first one, the original anime.
The anime.
Yeah.
I mean, he had non-committal answers when we were joking about it before. I feel like, or when we asked some questions about it before. I wouldn't force him to, but I mean, whatever. He definitely doesn't have a Twitter though, so I don't know what we would do to get his reaction.
Just put like a random section at the end and be like, "Hey, Kazum, how's that Fruits Basket watch going?"
And then it's just him screaming. Yeah. And then he tells a completely like unrelated story
about Homestar Runner.
Yeah, exactly. He'll never let him live it down. Except that he made it back by trolling me last time about the dumpling stuff from the East and West. For all our inside jokes, you can listen to the Equivalent Exchange podcast.
For a different set of inside jokes.
Yeah. Riot Bean Kai asks, will you be reading another now that the anime is over? Or do you prefer to leave the future after Furuba a more ambiguous fictional possibility in your mind? We will be reading another. I have an announcement. That's the announcement. I've read it now. Well, I've already read it. Haha. But Kayla will be reading it and we'll be discussing it at some point. I don't know when. I haven't put a timestamp on it. Hopefully probably sometime in the fall. I think we should finish FMA first.
Yeah.
But that will be pretty soon. That's only I think there's only 8 or 9 episodes left, something like that. Like, it's a pretty small number.
Yeah, we're going to finish, like, early September, I think.
Yeah, or late August. I think it is early September.
Yeah.
So sometime in the fall, maybe in September, I don't know yet exactly. But if you aren't following our social media things, you should do that, and I'll post about it there. But if you're following, like, the podcast on your, like, whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, then you'll just, like, get the episode. And we'll post it in the same like feed. So
it'll be a surprise.
We're gonna do a special surprise. We'll announce it.
Just show up in your feed, and we'll be like, "Oh, new episode."
Oh my God, they read another. They'll say. They talked about it. They'll say, and we shall.
Ryan Bean Kai also asks, "Do you think they'll make an anime out of another?"
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
It's fairly short, isn't it? Maybe like an OVA.
Yeah, it's as short as it's slightly longer than the number of, like, the amount of content that they're going to put in this Katsuya and Kyoko OVA, I imagine. I don't think it would even be a full season's worth because it's like 13 chapters. So you'd have to make every chapter an episode, which is not really enough content, I think.
Yeah.
So unless like Takaya draws more, I can't tell. I think it's technically done, but it used to be on hiatus, so maybe she will. But, so yeah, I'm not sure. I think do you think they'll make an anime of another? I don't know. It would be nice. Maybe if enough people watch the OVA, they'll make another OVA from another or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
It seems like somebody seems to think that Furuba is continuing to be a money-making opportunity, so perhaps.
Yeah. I know both FMAs had a lot of OVAs, so.
FMA also has like some mystery thing. Aren't they announcing that really soon?
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be
a couple days
sometime
from
this
now.
month, yeah.
When are they going to make Furuba video games like FMA? Okay, wait. I have another idea for an AU. They all get sucked into their video game, as you said before, and they're all different players, and it's like a RPG, and they like team up, and they all have different like powers and shit, and they can like transform into their animals. Or maybe they can just make a sim. I feel like it would be like a dating sim. Actually, they all.
Yeah, you could make a good like a good dating sim out of Furuba.
Yeah, it'd be like a self-insert fanfic.
Yeah.
You're the new kid in school, and you can befriend all the Somas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get different endings where they cry on you. That's what happened to Toru, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tell you, if you get them to confess all their problems, that's how you win the scenario.
Yeah.
And Akito's like the hardest one or whatever.
Call it the steamy onsen heartful game.
Okay, the next question also comes from Riot B and Kai. Are the original Tokyo Pop manga actually worth as much money as I've seen people say on the internet? I did a brief eBay search, and there are some where they're selling like new wrapped like individual volumes for like a shit ton of money, like hundreds of dollars. I would say that's not worth it.
Yeah.
But some people are selling the whole set for like 200. That seems worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you could get the whole set for less than, because like the original.
Yeah, I guess they're out of print, so.
They're out of print, so you can't get them any other way.
Yeah, it does seem like you could make a little chunk of change if you wanted to sell your.
No, never.
Sell your old Tokyo Pop volumes, but it's like even individual volumes seem to be going for like 2-3 times the original cost. So
I feel like if you could get a set for the original price or less, which was like $230, they used to be $10 a pop, right?
Yeah.
And there's 23 volumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see people selling them for like whole sets for like 500 something. This one's like 900.
Ooh,
so
900.
Yeah.
I think
like
the reason.
And there's like individual books going for like $30+ So.
But yeah, I don't think I would pay. I mean, this is $87, $34 for volume 22. There's a volume 23 that's like $600 right now. Like that's crazy. I think like the argument of Tokyo Pop versus Yen Press comes down to the translation. Some people like them, some people don't. I guess. But I feel like the Yen Press ones are fine. Like there's nothing wrong with them. I think people who argue the Tokyo Pop ones are better are just nostalgic for the Tokyo Pop translations. That's my opinion. Or say that it's like better or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, it's worth what someone will pay for it, so.
I mean, I guess when I was just describing this just now, I'd just say I wouldn't pay that over and over again, and I would pay this. So yeah. But I guess if you've never had it and you don't know, like they're out of print, so you don't have a choice. But if you really wanted to own a set,
yeah, or if you like had them but sold them all and like for nostalgia want them back,
regurgitated it.
Yeah.
I would be curious to know how much people spent on their full collector, like Tokyo Pop versions, if they have it, if they bought them after the fact.
The only one I bought after the fact was like volume 20 when I realized they didn't have it, but that was several years ago, so there wasn't.
I bet you it was a lot cheaper several years ago, like before the anime.
Yeah, it was. I think it was around the regular price.
It used to be like $12 or $13 each, so not that much more than the initial price.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my answer to that is like, get the Yen Press, or like if you want to have something, to read that you want in your house or whatever, like get the Yen Press ones. Like they're fine. You can look up what the difference in the translations are and stuff.
Yeah.
and I think like even the print quality of like the images themselves is better. I would say that I like personally prefer the Tokyo Pop, but I think that's just because I read it first. I think if I was reading it fresh, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, so weird. But
yeah, or maybe check out like used bookstores, like
yeah,
because like a lot of times they're just like, oh, it's some old manga. I'll
some
just put a
book that
random
says
price on it. Yeah.
yeah. If you hunt, maybe you can get them cheaply. I don't know.
But if you have a kit set you want to sell, go for it. Put your price on there.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're a seller, it looks like it's a seller's market. So you never know. Maybe they'll like reissue it someday. They got the translators who translated Fruits Basket originally translated Fruits Basket another. So maybe they'll get some kind of rights to use that translation again or something. Like I don't know, but I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why they retranslated it when they published the Yen Press ones, but so yeah, is it worth it? I don't know. It's worth it if you want to buy it, I guess, like Kayla said. But in terms of like, is it better objectively for some reason? I don't think so. I think it's just as good as the Yen Press one, and it all depends on if you just want to own it. They probably have the Yen Press ones for like ebooks. Must be available of those if you wanted to just like own it. I hope that answers the question, Riot Bean Kai. Dissected it as many ways as possible.
Another one from Riot Bean Kai says, what are your thoughts on donating beloved books to libraries?
Yes, this is maybe the least relevant question I have. I think if it's beloved, why would you donate it to a library?
Yeah, like if you want to, if it's in decent shape.
I know our libraries, like, please stop giving us the Da Vinci Code or whatever, you know? Like some libraries don't want like popular books, but they'll take other books, so. Yeah, I don't know.
And some people like donate books that are in really bad shape, and it's like they can't do anything with those, so.
I feel like as an adult, I've gone out of my way to get things that are the things that I care about. So I don't know if I would donate a beloved book to a library, but I think you should donate books to a library if you don't want them.
Yeah.
And they're in good shape. Next question, also from Riot Bean Kai, is: do you have any recommendations for other manga and anime that's similarly well crafted as Furuba, other than FMA, of course? I feel like we might have answered this question in an earlier series, but I liked Kami-sama Kiss, or an earlier episode, but I liked Kami-sama Kiss. It is, I would say, similar to like Furuba. I don't think it's as like well crafted as FMA, but it has a lot of interest. I think it has an interesting like main twist that I wasn't expecting. So.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've read any like new manga series. Yeah, I liked Pet Shop of Horrors back in the day. I think that was pretty well put together.
It was interesting.
Not really very like Fruits Basket, but
no, but it has like a supernatural element. A lot of the anime and manga that I like has stuff like that, so
yeah, has
people
some
might like that if they like Furuba.
People that are also animals in different ways.
Everyone's turning into animals. It has some animals that are also people as well. My recollection.
Yeah. I remember like in Chrono Crusade, but it's been a long time since I've read it.
I feel like our recommendations haven't changed.
Yeah. That one I can't pronounce that's translated to like A Bride's Story is somewhat newish. Like I think it's still ongoing. That one was good.
Oh, Toyomi Gatari.
Yeah, that one.
It's set in a rural town near the
pretty
Caspian
to look
Sea.
at, if nothing else.
It does look pretty.
That's probably the newest thing I've read.
The newest thing I read was... I think the newest thing I read was Tsubaki Cho Lonely Planet, which was still coming out. But it became all like older dude, younger girl, and I was like, I can't deal with this. Like high school girl, older dude she lives with, and I was like, no, I can't buy into this. But I read her other series, which was called Daytime Shooting Star, which was from 2013, so it was a little bit older, and the plot seems like it's gonna go that way, and then it doesn't, and I enjoyed it. But it was just like a more shoujo slice of lifey shoujo.
I think Oran is pretty enjoyable to watch after watching something like Fruits Basket.
Something that's a little less dramatic, you mean?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it's like a parody of like the shoujo genre. So.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like after watching or reading something like Fruits Basket, you have enough like knowledge to like get more of the jokes.
Yeah. You're not going to recommend Hot Gimmick, the greatest shoujo of all time? The most well put together story of all time.
For the record, we're being sarcastic. Hot Gimmick is trash.
Hot Gimmick is trash, but it's like really it's page flipping trash.
Yeah, it's just to say it's riveting trash. So.
Yeah, riveting trash. Anyway, I guess those are our recommendations.
Yeah.
It's like the point is, no, we haven't read anything new.
Yeah, we're not very hip with the anime scene anymore.
No, not really. I also, okay, well, this question was about, do you have any, manga and anime. Yeah, I don't, other than Furuba, I also just like don't, I think I mentioned this earlier. I just feel like I enjoy manga more as a, what you call it? Medium?
Medium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for anime, I don't know.
Although I would recommend the Oran anime over the Oran manga.
Really? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I feel like it started to sort of become what it was parodying rather than...
I feel like when series sometimes go too long, they become like a parody of themselves. Or like they become a really predictable version of themselves.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Mm-hmm. There's still stuff I liked in the like later chapters, but I think as a whole experience, I think the anime is a solid, like how many episodes it was. Like
it's like a season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good solid story, and it doesn't go like too far into that, like what you're talking about, where it's all dramatic for no reason. And it has like I think the same like goofy sort of goofiness like the manga does.
I also like the Cardcaptor Sakura anime better than the manga. Those are two I can think of off the top of my head.
I've never read the Cardcaptor Sakura manga.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's very clamp, but
You mean everyone's really long?
Not earlier clamp before they got quite as like that.
It's very clamp. I liked, speaking of clamp, I liked Xxxholic back in the day, but I never really finished it, so I can't really recommend it as a whole story, but it was like a lot darker than some of the other clamp stuff, I think, and spooky, so I enjoyed that.
It was a bit in the Pet Shop of Horrors vein.
It is kind of like that, actually.
The kind of like connected individual stories kind of thing.
Yeah, and like
a sort of framing device and characters.
Yes, and also they start off very similarly episodic in the sense of like people are coming in. They're both actually about a shop, right? In theory, that's how they start. So people are coming in to like do things or fix their problems or whatever, and so they have kind of a similar sort of like episodic and ethereal, or not ethereal, like spoopy kind of
like
storytelling.
Otherworldly kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. So if you like that kind of thing, those are good. I think Xxxholic has a good anime too. I remember watching it a long time ago. I haven't seen it in many years, but I remember it being good and being like pretty close to what I remembered from the manga.
I don't think I ever watched it, but I think Xxxholic anime was like the peak of the like skinny clamp dudes joke.
They were really long, so long. And I could never get into Tsubasa, which was Clamp's other Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle that was going on at the time. It's just like, I don't care. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, I remember being excited for it because I liked Cardcaptor Sakura so much. Yeah. It's like, they were basically they were just characters that looked like them and had their names. They weren't really like
they were character designs in a different plot.
Yeah, it looks really pretty. I do like the artwork in Tsubasa. But yeah, I was like, these are not the Sakura and Chara, and I love.
How dare you, Clamp? How dare you make a doujin of your own work? How dare you? Yeah, I don't know. I just could never really get into the story for whatever reason, but I liked Xxxholic at the time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the superior series.
Of the two, it probably is.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean between those two.
Cardcaptor Sakura seems really good. I've made efforts to watch the anime. There's just a lot of it, and I haven't seen all of it yet.
It's like peak charming to me. Like if there's just something I want to just like put in and smile, it's like
it's cute. It's like Pokemon, but like not Pokemon's really the early episodes. Well, I think all of them are, but especially like the first seasons are like really goofy, and it's kind of like that, but more serious. It's like fun, but there's serious parts. It's not gonna.
It's really like charming and heartfelt and
sincere. As a story.
Yeah. It's like no matter how much older I've gotten, I still can like put it in and just be like, oh, they're so sweet. Look at them.
The friends doing the things. Yeah, that's true. It hasn't like degraded with time like some things do.
Yeah, it still pierces through my, cynical 30-year-old soul. So
cynical millennial soul. Yeah, exactly. Born cynical soul.
Yeah, because I first watched that when I was like 12 or 13. So
yeah, and it was cute back then. It's cute now. I first watched it when I was like in high school. It's exactly the same. Like it's the same feels. You're like, look at them. Look at Sakura flying around. Look at her using the card. Her wand has a little face. Like
very charming opening and ending songs too.
Yeah, it's just like it's cute. It's lighthearted. It's not. I wouldn't even actually. It's not even lighthearted, but it's just like, it's not. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like everything's gonna be okay in the end. Like, like gets kind of serious. Like in the middle there, like of whatever threat they're facing. It's like it's all
their
gonna
friendship
be
is
good.
gonna pull them through because friendship is the best thing ever.
Yes.
All right, last question.
Rai Kai says, I know you're nearing endgame content in your FMA podcast, and I'm dreading running out of fun fan-made banter podcasts. Thank you.
Is that a genre?
Any plans for more after the FMA podcast is done? I remember a mention of a possible Zelda podcast, and I've listened to Sedimentary, my dear. Any other projects to look forward to?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Sedimentary, my dear. Everybody should message my sister and tell her to write more episodes. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I think she's stressed. Yeah, we're working on a Zelda podcast. We were just talking about it with Kazum, our co-host from Equivalent Exchange. I forgot what our other podcast is called. Sorry. Yeah, I think the current plan is a podcast, and then also we might be streaming. So there'll be some kind of, and we'll be around. We'll be about, but the plans aren't final yet. So.
Yep. Until then, you can. I was just gonna say, until we get it figured out, you can listen to our Full Metal Alchemist podcast, which still has a little bit to go.
Yeah, I think we just said, and then another, another. We'll do a special, some kind of episode, some set of episode, or at several, maybe just one.
I need to go to the bookstore.
I bought ebooks because books are for chumps. Just kidding, they're not. It's just easier. Going out to the house is hard.
Yeah. Well, I looked at ordering them online, but some of them are like more expensive for some reason. So
what?
I don't know. I may check out my local bookstore before trying to order them like directly through Yen Press or something, or Barnes and Noble or something. So
I wish I could go to the bookstore. That would be nice. I think the reason I got them is because I still couldn't go anywhere. Like stores were still, retail's been closed for so long here. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing some other volumes when I was going like every day to try and find that Full Metal Alchemist volume. So
I ordered mine. It has Greedling on it. Only a few more months till it comes or whatever. Yeah. Good times.
But yeah, so yes, we will be around.
And anytime. Okay, so I said this before. I said before what our that you can follow our things. But in case you just listen to our podcast and you want like updates or whatever before something comes out, like I said, they'll just, even for like if we do this, or when we start the Zelda podcast, I'll put like a preview in this feed too, so you'll know what's happening. But you can follow our Tumblr, which is Stay Together Podcast, and our Twitter, which is Stay Together Pod, for any updates on any of our new projects. And also Equivalent Exchange ones are Equivex Pod, I think, for both. But yeah, we'll be making updates. Things will happen. We don't want to stop making stuff. Like, I think we'll always be making something at this point. So yeah,
it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, just just doing the podcast itself is fun, and it's also fun to get questions and interactions from you guys. It's really makes our day whenever we get any questions and comments.
It's nice that everybody's commenting, like sending questions like over and over again. Like, thanks for sticking with us and listening all the way through. So nice.
Yeah, it's real nice to recognize all these names.
All your handles. I noticed someone like 2 days ago started following the podcast on Tumblr. So like maybe people are still just finding it now, like probably. So anyway, it's been a good time. And we'll be around making new things, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. On that note, that's all for this. That's all for Furuba.
That's until been Fruits Basket, y'all.
Yeah, I know. I'm really happy with the anime, all things considered. I'm happy that it's out. I'm happy that they did it. I'm happy that we got our story the way that it was, like very in a very similar fashion to the manga.
Yeah.
And like well treated. So
yeah, really happy just to see characters that
Rin.
I loved for a long time that never got in the first anime, and
Kakeru, little Kakeru,
Rin and Kakeru and Machi. Sad bird.
Them. Sad bird. He's so sad. Kimi, most importantly of all.
Yes.
How can we forget Kimi?
The most important character.
All right. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you around in the future.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. Sorry, I heard a really weird noise. It sounded like a bell.
Yeah, I heard it too.
The fuck is that? Oh, it's probably the knife sharpening guy. There's like yeah, there's this really fucking bizarre phenomenon. If it drives by again and I can take a photo for you another time, I'll show you. But basically it's like a dude that drives like essentially like an ice cream truck.
I was just about to say, is it like an ice cream truck for
yeah,
knives?
It's exactly like that. So he drives around a little truck that looks like an ice cream truck and then hits like a bell as they drive by, or like as he drives by, and the sign on the ice cream truck is just says like knife sharpening or like, you know, whatever. And so they'll drive around and sharpen your shit for you. I've never personally done it, but I've seen the knife sharpening truck with my own eyes.
It sounds like a parody that you would put into like your like fake serial killer town and like
yeah, there's got to be one in like Santa Clarita Diet or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you live near a knife sharpening man. What was I talking about?
It's like, and then let us know if you're okay.
Not just like a man who threateningly sharpens his knives like in the window while staring at you or whatever.